So, Disney, Willow, they rebooted it several years ago. Now, in fact, 2022. And it got cancelled. Now, it got cancelled because, of course, the viewership was not great. In fact, the viewership was some of the worst for any Disney Plus show. In fact, they were. Ratings are the worst for Disney Plus. Pretty bad. Pretty damn bad. The Rotten Tomatoes score was middling. I mean, it wasn't great. It wasn't absolutely horrendous. But it wasn't great either. The budget, however, I mean, you read from the title, was genuinely insane. In fact, it was about $150 million. How? How was it $150 million? What on earth are you doing for $150 million? Staggeringly high cost for a show which was a continuation of a movie which didn't do particularly well. It never did particularly well. I mean, you can see it here. $137.6 million it took worldwide. In fact, only had a $35 million budget. How on earth did you go from $35 million to $150 million? Who's doing the accounts at Disney? Who is making those decisions that believes $150 million is a worthwhile investment on a TV show for a movie that didn't even gross that back in the day? Now, I know adjusted for inflation, etc., etc. But still, $35 million original budget. That's genuinely insane. So I thought we'd take a look at this. This dropped 2 days ago, courtesy of Forbes. Caroline Reed over there does great work uncovering the mysteries of the Disney budget. And she wrote this. Willow budget ballooned beyond $150 million before Disney axed the show. I mean, it's near like $150 million. It's almost incomprehensible, isn't it? Those sorts of sums. You hear them and you're like, it just sounds like nothing. But I mean, it really is. Like, that's insane. That is such an insane sum of cash. And studios have got kind of all too comfortable just spaffing that level of money up the wall. Anyway. Oh, by the way, do hit subscribe if you're new here, guys. Turn the bell notifications on if you like this, the kind of video like this or other stuff that I do. And please do support via Patreon, linked down below, or my merch store, mr8shop.com. But anyway, Disney's reasons for axing fantasy streaming series Willow after just one season appear to be getting clearer, as it has come to light that the budget for its 8 episodes, only 8 episodes, surged to a staggering $156.8 million, giving each one an average cost of nearly $20 million. The most expensive Game of Thrones episode back in the day, towards the final season, was $10 million. And that was amazing, right? What HBO did with $10 million an episode was just mind-blowing. This is $20 million! And it looked like dog shit. What are you doing? Despite the colossal amount spent on the series, Disney had pulled Willow from its Disney Plus streaming platform, and its filings reveal that work on a second season has been abandoned. Quote, even though its executive producer Jonathan Kasdan has described it as being on pause. So, a sequel to the beloved 1988 Lucasfilm movie with the same name, Willow, stars Warwick Davies, who gives a commanding performance as the eponymous hero alongside Erin Kellyman, Ellie Bamber, and the Grand Budapest Hotel's Tony Revolori. So, based on characters created by George Lucas, the series was developed by Kasdan, whose father Lawrence co-wrote The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, The Force Awakens, Raiders of the Lost Ark for Lucasfilm. Disney acquired the rights to Willow when it bought Lucasfilm from its founder George Lucas for $4 billion in 2012. 7 years later, Ron Howard, director of the original movie, revealed that he had been approached by Jonathan Kasdan about working on a sequel series for Disney Plus, and in October 2020, it got the green light. The series debuted just over 2 years later and ran until January 2023. Now, I mean, this is Lucasfilm absolutely destroying every single IP it owns. I said this at the time. I don't think there's one company that has now explicitly destroyed its entire library, more so than Lucasfilm. You'd have to correct me, but I don't think there is anything under Lucasfilm right now that is something which would get people interested. Like, they've put out flop after flop after flop. So at the time it was commissioned, the pandemic had thrown much of the world into lockdown, leaving consumers craving new streaming content. Disney was eagerly adding shows to its platform in a bid to attract more subscribers than its rivals, and no expense was spared. Say that again. Budgets of the streaming shows are usually confidential, as studios combine the cost of them in their overall expenses and don't itemise how much they spent on each one. However, they filmed it in the UK, didn't they? Which means they get tax rebate. Well, not even a tax rebate, they just get reimbursement of money. Just a cash reimbursement of whatever they've spent on the production. So it's not even a tax reimbursement, it's just however much money they spent on the overall production, they get 25.5% back. Dickheads. Anyway, however, shows made in the UK are exceptions, and Willow is one of them. Studios film in the UK to benefit from the government's audio visual expenditure credit, which gives them a cash reimbursement of up to 25.5% of the money they spend in the country. And that's why a lot of Disney stuff is filming over here at the moment, because without it, they would be screwed. So to qualify for the reimbursement, at least 10% of the core production costs need to be related to activities in the UK. In order to demonstrate this to the government, studios tend to set up a separate production company in the UK for each one they make there. So I've gone over this before, but it's publicly available information, basically. So anyway, the filings, here's the filings, which anyone can see, Company's House. The filings reveal that $53 million was spent on Willow in 2022, bringing its total cost to $156.8 million. This is described as being in line with the adjusted production budget, and Disney didn't even have to cover it all itself, thanks to an unlikely Prince Charming, because Willow received $31.1 million reimbursement, courtesy of my money, my tax. Oh, and also another $5 million grant from filming in the UK as well. So 31.1 plus another $5 million. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So that actually brought Disney's net expenditure on the show to $120.7 million. But yeah, it still got, well, destroyed. I mean, this is the ratings that it had. 481,000 households watched the show in the first 5 days. You spent $156 million on a show that not even 500,000 people were watching. That's terrible. Like, that's absolutely atrocious. Yeah, crazy. Absolutely crazy. And it is interesting. So it says the financial statements do not share the optimism and say that in March 2023, Season 2 of the company's ongoing production was abandoned. More clouds have gathered over the show, as it was one of nearly 50 titles taken from Disney+. That was a tax write-off, basically, so they can clear some more money. Wow. And this is how they describe it. It's essentially a reduction in the value of an asset, and this creates a loss on the company's balance sheet, which reduces its tax bill. That's how Disney Plus has ended up moving as a loss to, I think, a profit now. That's the only way that they've managed to do it. That's madness. What are you doing spending that much money on this? You're insane. So anyway, love to hear your thoughts. Drop it down below. Take care. Bye-bye now.